So I want to start this talk by introducing you to a term called career blindness. And more than introducing you to the term, I want to introduce you to the phenomena that it highlights, and it's an issue. And this issue is really close to me, which is why when I was writing my book, The Micro MBA, Social Media Marketing and Branding, I actually formalized the term by putting it inside the book, grounding it to some reality, at least not it being a term that I've come up with, although in many sense it is. And so I want to explain the term, which is career blindness is the psychological inability of a lot of students, people, professionals, could be anyone, but it usually occurs at the stage when you're a student, to be unable to see beyond a certain spectrum or scope of careers. Now, it's a word play on the term color blindness, where the person who suffers from color blindness is unable to see beyond a certain spectrum of color. They can see some colors, but they can see a limited scope of colors. Because I'm an author, I believe in the power of research. I really believe in that. So, I wouldn't just come up with a term and not put any research into it. So what I did was that I actually grounded it into some clinical trial. And so what I did was I invested extensively into getting some results out for you so that I can give you an example. And I want to present to you who I believe is the patient zero of this phenomena. And I want you to meet Exhibit A, Tom. Tom has anxiety. Tom is forced to confide into a career path of chasing a mouse, and he's not interested in it. Tom is definitely a caffeine addict. He has other skills, by the way. He did an opera performance. He enjoys exercising these skills. Now, Jerry here is a metaphor for the unrealistic ideals that are set by society. But these unrealistic ideals are constantly being enforced by external forces. We've never seen the face of this lady, by the way. Now, these external forces could be parents, siblings, peers, societal norms, could be anything. Now, Tom knows that something is not right. And while this is a fictional case, you know that something is not right. You're aware of it. I'm not saying every one of you has this problem, but some of you do have it. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to indulge into the process of explaining to you what this problem actually is. I want to address one of the important factors that leads to this situation, which is how you've been conditioned to make generic career choices. Now, this is important here. A lot of us pick these careers assuming that these are the careers that we want to take. But it's not really our choice, is it? These are choices that have been ingrained in us through the limitations, through the voice of other people who surround us and people that we entrust with taking advice from. And usually this is how we end up being in this situation. Now, I'll give you an example. I've worked a couple of marketing jobs. And when you're in a campaign brief, once you're done with it, and you're probably pitching your idea to the client, it has just never happened to me that the client turns around to me and says, I like your campaign. I like the transmedia social marketing campaign that you've created. I like the distribution model. I like the copy and the creatives of the ad. But I can only approve this campaign idea that you've created, Ankit, if you can tell me if two trains are moving in the same direction. One of them is moving at the speed of 60 kilometers per hour. The other one is moving at 80 kilometers per hour. Both of them are 5 kilometers away from each other. At what time will train A be superseded by train B? This has never happened to me. Nobody has ever asked me this question. And yet, to get a marketing job, you need a postgraduate diploma in marketing, or a PGP, or an MSc, or an MBA. By the way, we're really confused about marketing degrees here. But, and a lot of people really confuse them altogether. But you need these degrees to get this job. And the problem is the thing that would tell me if I'm eligible for doing a job that I want has nothing to do with the job that I'm going to do. And yet, these are the barricades that is stopping a lot of people from pursuing their careers. Now, the problem is not just that these barricades are stopping a person like me from having a career that I want, for that example. It's actually also guiding a lot of people into ambiguous career choices. And so, when you were in 10th or you were in 12th, somebody came up to you and told you that if you're good in mathematics, you should be an engineer. If you're good in medicine, you should be a doctor. If you're good in arts, you should probably give it up. And so, here's the problem. These factors are what decide what a student is going to do for the rest of their lives. You'll spend 45, and some of you have already spent 45 years of your life. I can't help you. But to the ones that haven't spent the 45 years of your life after graduation, you're going to spend it doing something that you don't like at all. And this is not just a problem that centers around your career and what you do at the job. it actually then propagates into different directions. And that propagation then becomes so difficult that it translates into your own life. And I'll give you another example. So what happens is when you're not happy at your job and you're not happy with your life, the 3 stacks of realities do not align for you. These 3 stacks of realities being what you want to be, the kind of person that you want to be, the kind of person that you are, and the kind of person that you portray yourself as. Because all of these 3 things do not align, because you're doing something that you don't want to do, you're telling people that you like it, which is you translating yourself not as who you are. And you know this person, right? Somebody who's in a bad job, but they always tell you, it's a great job because they took it. And they have to justify it, unfortunately. And instead of moving out of it, what they've decided is that they're going to propagate the idea even further, confuse more people into watching it, which some of us do when we watch a bad movie and we tell everyone, you know what, go watch it so that we want other people to get tortured by it. But it's funny when you do it with a movie. It's not funny when you ruin somebody's career. It's not funny when you ruin the next 50, 60 years of some student's life. And so this is just a big joke by some teacher who didn't like what he or she did, and then what he decided was that I'm going to make this big joke by telling students that you should do this. And then students started doing it, and then everybody propagated this. It's a very bad joke, by the way. It's a bad joke. And so another important thing for us to understand is that there are 2 levels at which this problem is grounded. One of them is how you've been conditioned, which I'm talking to you about in a very small area. But another thing which is really important for us to understand is that there is also a problem that resides inside of us, because we're not able to break out of this loop. We're not able to get out, and at least a lot of us are not able to do it. Now, one of the things that you need to understand is that a lot of people who would come up to you, and the kind of people that are advising you at the moment, are the product of the same system that creates the problem. And so what they're doing is that they're giving you these ideals and establishing these ideals for you, but they are predicated on the problems that they've faced through the same system that doesn't work for anyone. Well, it does work for a couple of people. So I know that somewhere in the crowd, which is full of different people, and a lot of engineers, by the way, is one person who's like, no, I like my course. I like my job. And I'm not saying that it is applicable to everyone, but it is. One of the reasons why you ended up in the right place is not because that the system worked, but this is just random selection. If we keep putting everyone in the wrong slot, more often than not, somebody would end up in the right slot just by brute force trying and reiterating the process. And so if you, by the way, ended up in a job that you like, or if you, by the way, ended up in a course that you like, is based on either one of the 2 things. You're either lying to yourself because there has been this huge investment that is riding on your back, and that you have to justify it, and so therefore you're convinced yourself that, I like whatever I'm doing, or you just ended up there because you were lucky. Not many of us are lucky. Not many of us want to do what we're doing right now. Not many of us will end up where we want to end up in life. If you end up in a place where you don't want to be, it starts messing with you. You're not happy. You know you're not happy. You can pretend to be happy. You can find happiness in other things. But in general, you're not happy. You could be depressed. Because you're depressed, you're not able to be happy around other people, which leads to you not being able to keep other people happy, which leads to you believing that you're not good enough, which leads to people believing that you're not good enough. In the longer run, not only do you lose your career, which you've already lost probably, but you also lose the people around you, the people who are supposed to actually protect you from this problem, the people who are supposed to make this problem better, or not have this problem altogether. So don't just think about it as a problem that is limiting people from having good careers. Now, the solution to this problem, by the way, is finding your passion. It's a very casually used term. A lot of people, when I was trying to find my career, people would come, if you want to have an unconventional career path, why don't you find your own passion, right? It's a very simple thing to do. Just go on and find your passion, like as if passion sits somewhere, and you have to just look for them, and then eventually you'll find this person, and you'll be like, hi, passion. It doesn't happen like that. It's a rigorous process. And one of the caveats of talking about passion on stage is that I personally seen a lot of motivational talks, and it's usually about do this, do this, do this, do this. And these are all generic terms. Find your passion. Be more productive. Start working hard. Start exercising. It's easy to say that. It's not that easy to do. If it was so easy, if somebody came on stage and said, why don't you start exercising? Wouldn't everyone start exercising? So I'll start by defining what passion could be. And I want you to understand that your passion is only your passion because it is unique to you. And so if I could define your passion exactly for you, because I'm going to get a couple of YouTube comments saying that you didn't help me. Maybe I didn't, but who knows? So it's important for you to understand that your passion is unique for you. But I'm not going to leave you on the cliffhanger saying that your passion is unique for you to find it. How does that help you? So how I define passion about a certain area of interest is that you're passionate about something. When nobody asked you to do anything about it, it's a difficult thing. It's something that you don't know. It's not something that you've learned before. But you put your own time, money, energy into learning this particular skill. But it doesn't stop there. You keep working so hard that you become so good at it that you can teach other people. This is when you realize that you're passionate about something. When I wanted to write a book, I had no idea about writing a book. Obviously, I never took any course, by the way, that could help me become a writer. And so I just took the opportunity because I wanted to practice in action, and then I started learning. I started looking online and started looking at academic textbooks, and I read as many textbooks as I could have to find what I'm passionate about, and not just find the passion, but actually learn what I'm passionate about and do it to a level where I can actually execute it. Now, you have to do it for yourself. You have to find those areas of interest where nobody's asking you to do anything, but you're actually doing a lot. Those are the areas where you're probably passionate. But here's another important thing. While I write, I also speak. And I like speaking, usually, when the audience is good and the setup is nice and the climate is good, and there are more conditions on speaking, by the way. But I like speaking. I like writing. I like creating videos. I like creating content. I also like my job. I like my marketing job. I'm actually very passionate about it, which is why I wrote a book on marketing first, as compared to writing a novel, which I will eventually. Who knows? But what that tells me is that you can be passionate about more than one thing, because a lot of people would then come to me and they say, I found my passion, I found my passion. And I'm like, yeah, so now what? And they're like, yeah, I found my passion. And I'm like, yeah, so now what? And they'll be like, no, I found my passion, and it becomes a loop. Finding your passion is not enough. The next step is always going to be difficult. It's easy to romanticize the problems that you have. It's easy to romanticize with the ideas that you have. You don't want to be an engineer, but somebody is forcing you to be an engineer. You don't want to be a doctor. Somebody forced you to be a doctor. So you can always complain, and it's not your responsibility. But if you find your passion, and then you execute your passion, and then you find that you're not passionate about it, it's your problem. You spend your time doing what you wanted to do, and then you realize that you didn't want to do it. No, you can't blame anyone but yourself. It's a huge problem now. Right? The responsibility is on you. And yeah, I want to take responsibility, but then I don't want the consequences of taking responsibility, so why am I taking responsibility? You know what? My parents know better. My siblings know better. Everybody knows better than I do, so I should probably do what they're doing, and then you end up where you are, which is the problem. While parents, families, siblings do give you the idea of what you want to do, more often than not, you end up doing those things even if none of them were actually present. And a good example, and again, a patient of mine is me. I don't know about anyone else better than I know about myself. And my parents never asked me to become an engineer. Nobody asked me to, really nobody asked me to become an engineer. As a matter of fact, I was very bad at mathematics, and a lot of people told me that you shouldn't become an engineer. And yet, because everyone was doing it, it appeared to be the only way I could get a job, which didn't happen, by the way, initially. And apparently, because it appeared to be something that I would have wanted to do, I went for it anyway. And I actually went through the painful process of going through engineering, which is where I also enrolled in a coaching, trying to learn a lot of things that, again, are not necessary and never going to be used in an engineering class. But I did spend a lot of time learning a lot of things that I didn't have to learn. And then I became an engineer. And this is when I realized that sometimes you're the problem. You are your own problem. You're getting in your own way. And the reason is, and I do get that a lot as well, more often than not when I speak and I interact with people, people come to me and say, oh, my parents are really liberal, my friends are really liberal, and they want me to do whatever I want to do. But a thing that I want to understand is that why is it that it is my own voice? Why is it that it is my own voice that hits me? Why is it that somewhere from inside of me, I get a voice which is my own, or at least appears to be my own, saying that, don't go for these things, you're not good enough. They've been so omnipresent, these fears. They're not yours. They belong to someone else. You know who it belongs to. But they've been there for such a long period of time that it has almost become yours. It has almost become your problem. It is almost why you'll fail. But you have to keep trying. And a lot of you would want to then ask, why should I try? Well, why not? The other option is to just have a miserable life, be miserable. Nobody wants that. Don't end up like Tom. Realize there's something wrong with you. Accept that. Face it. And then conquer it. Thank you.